Hey folks, David Stewart here. Don't forget, coming March 27th, the keys to prolific creativity so you can take your creative process to the next level, hopefully up your output. You could pre-order that for $2.99. Today's topic, literary black swans, and the very important concept, which is that explanations do not necessarily have predictive value. Meaning if I explain how a book achieved some of its popularity, if I explain what's in the book and its elements and how I think they contributed to the book's success, whether it's in a market or it's in one of these black swan type books that are really explosive events, that doesn't mean that that converts into some formula you can use to replicate that success. The truth is, these really explosive books, the ones that are huge bestsellers, these are black swan events. These are not predictable. Meaning they're not the result of a formula that was determined ahead of time, and the next explosive event will not be the result of a formula that's really created before you actually create the work. So, for example, Harry Potter, if Harry Potter was the result of a formula that necessarily led to its success, then publishers would have been publishing lots of books exactly like Harry Potter to maximize the timing of that and maximize the success of it. The reality is that was an unexpected success. It grew and became a multicultural phenomenon and isn't something that can be easily duplicated, if ever. Likewise, if you look at something like Twilight, even though Twilight has lots of these little elements that are present in other genres, just like Harry Potter. Harry Potter is like mage college stuff combined with escapism. It's lots of elements that are already been established in a variety of fantasy genres, but they're presented in a slightly novel way that all of a sudden becomes an explosive thing. It doesn't mean that you can replicate that and you can just find some kind of key and then it's going to create an explosive event. The whole point of the black swan is that you can't predict it ahead of time, and that's going to be true with all of these things, whether it's the Da Vinci Code or it's Twilight or it's 50 Shades of Grey, or I don't even know what the next one's going to be, or if it's Hunger Games or something like that. You can't really predict these ahead of time. What you can do, though, that's not to say everything is completely random. You can, when you analyze these things, get some important tools out for understanding maybe some of the necessary conditions for that mega success. So, for example, with Harry Potter, with Twilight, with most of these books, you'll notice that they're written at a little bit lower language level. They're accessible to younger readers, not written with a language that really targets kids necessarily, but they're accessible to younger readers, which means they're also accessible to older readers. And very importantly, for the mega success, I think, of Harry Potter, as well as Twilight to some extent, is that they are accessible to adults who aren't big readers, meaning they don't read a lot of books, and so if it's an easy book to read, then it's fun for them to read. If they're not having to wade through difficult language, then it makes it a more fun experience. That means you're also kind of creating or expanding the market up into areas where people don't normally buy a lot of books. So if you're looking to create a book that has those elements, obviously trying to target hard sci-fi where it's basically a technical manual with a loose plot is probably not going to be the key to that success. So it's not completely random, it's not all dumb luck, but that difference between just moderately successful book and cultural phenomenon that will be written about in 100 years as some kind of explosive popular event. Same thing with, say, like the Beatles in the music area. That was not really predicted. Otherwise, there would have been lots of things just like the Beatles. So it's not the result of a formula. And if you try to create a formula, there's no guarantee that it's going to create the same kind of success. Now, part of this, I should mention, is the result of survivorship bias. If somebody is very highly successful, the tendency is to think that the things that you did created that success, meaning it's a direct cause. I did these things, that's how I'm a billionaire. The reality is that lots of people do those same things and don't achieve the same outcomes because there is randomness at play. Doesn't mean it's all dumb luck. Lots of the things that you do, if you're successful, contribute to your success, but there's a lot of variability in outcomes there. This is something that I see with YouTube, for example, because I'm rolling the dice every day with videos, is that you can do a video and you just don't know how it's going to do. You don't know if it's going to interest people. You don't know if it's going to really hit the mark exactly where it needs to hit and become an explosive kind of viral thing, or if just like nobody's going to watch, or if it's going to be moderate. And you can predict a little bit whether it's going to be like highly targeted towards a specific audience, which means you kind of have a limited growth, or it's really open-ended. And if you're going really open-ended, it could be 0, it could be 100,000, it could be 1 million views. It just depends on luck to a large extent. So you have to kind of embrace the fact that you don't know exactly what's going to be super popular. All you can do is try to create something which is novel in the space in which it's created. That is, I think, one of those necessary requirements. Not a sufficient condition, but maybe a necessary condition is that it's novel in the space in which you are encountering it. So if we look at Twilight, for example, it had a lot of novelty in the space in which it was written. It was like a romance novel combined with vampires, kind of targeted towards tweens. It had a lot of elements that seemed novel for that space, even though like vampires and all those sorts of things are from other genres and aren't novel themselves. It's maybe a necessary condition to success, but certainly not a sufficient condition. So don't get your hopes up too high if you're writing a book or creating a piece of art or music, thinking that your highly original idea has the capacity to explode and make you really famous, and then it may not. In fact, it probably won't, because these are extremely rare events. Because while J.K. Rowling makes a ton of money selling Harry Potter books, who else does? There's very, very few authors that are anywhere in the same league as far as money making and sales go. It's really kind of like a winner take all event, and you have to be aware of that and accept that that's the way it actually works. That's the way reality works. So me going and analyzing something like Harry Potter or Twilight or anything that's popular, which I think is really valuable to do, this is to try to ferret out some of these devices I think that work, that you can expect them to work and to have some of those necessary conditions for success. But it's not to try to create a formula to duplicate that success. That's actually probably impossible. You're not going to see the success coming. The best you can do is try to set yourself up for the potential for that success, and maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't happen. So that's mostly what I wanted to say in this video. Leave me your thoughts down below and let me know what you think about what some of the necessary conditions for that mega success are, or if there is some kind of formula that can at least create some moderate success. And as far as I can tell, there is no formula. So if you think that Harry Potter is the result of a formula, it might be, but that formula doesn't necessarily lead to success, because you probably aren't aware of anybody else who was successful that used it. So just keep that in mind. And I'll see you guys next time. Don't forget the new book is coming out March 27th, The Keys to Prolific Creativity. You can pre-order it on Amazon for $2.99. Have a great one, and I'll see you next time.